line to basically down. The water runs from the Lake Erie shoreline to basically down to St. Clair. So that was the problem that they were having. The reason the land was like that was because that happened during the glacial age, and it was the bottom of a lake. When it just leveled out, it was flat land. So basically, how do you get water off of that flat land? And the land over towards Lake St. Clair is below lake level. So the best part of it was that with the French background, these people knew how to make levees and that type of thing. And so that's what they started to do, was to bank up watercourses and to try to direct the water. The government was soon understanding that with all this water, they had to help out. So they initiated the Watercourses Act, and that gave authority to start to build roads and do some ditches and that type of thing. And some of the larger drains, which are called government drains, were really to give relief to the earliest settlers. And they started out as little ditches and evolved to be huge rivers, so to speak, semi-rivers. And of course, everybody is hollering for drains. When the government recognizes that it's their responsibility to give relief here, they then put the money forward to do it, and everybody is saying, we need a new drain here. We need to get rid of some of this water. And of course, the big thing is that when you've got Lake Erie on this side and things are coming down, and you've got the heaviest amount of water at the highland end, then it's flowing down on the people at the bottom. And they are screaming, and there's big fights in council and everything. What are you going to do here? How are you going to relieve us here? And at that point, the county, they then start to do their own large ditches and that type of thing. And the ditches were, again, all hand constructed. It was done with horses and dump scoopers and side scrapers. And usually the county roads were built at the same time that the major ditches were built. As the dirt and things was scraped out of the bottom, it was brought to the top, and the scoopers that would be pulled along on the bottom, the horses would be driven from the top, and then it would be a rotating type of thing where they would come up on top of the bank, dump the dirt, continually go around and come back and complete their work that way. Some of these ditches would be perhaps 15, 20 feet deep. So it was an extensive amount of work. It was very hard work. But the big thing was, what kind of equipment do you have to work with? So then the government said, all right, well, we'll have to do something. And they brought in some of the early dredges. One of the first ones was called the dipper stick. It was about 25 feet long and about 8 feet wide. The dipper stick evolved in itself, and the one that came after that was called the straddle machine. Now, the machine would have pieces of railroad track with it. The railroad track was laid down on each side of the drain, and the axles for the straddle machine were put on wheels like we'd have on a rail car, and then the straddle was actually mounted across the drain on the axles. And how it was working was that it had like an A-frame on the front of it with a bar across, another wooden bar across, to stabilize it. And once the major drains and the ditches were done, that type of thing, then they got right into tiling the land and that type of thing. And it started out with the farmers just dug trenches on their farms, and in some places they just filled the bottom up with stones. It's a big enough job to build them, let alone maintain them and that type of thing. So it evolved from that sort of thing into clay tile. And within Kent County, Lambton, and so on, there were a number of kilns for making bricks and tile and that type of thing, because the bricks were used, of course, for housing and buildings and that sort of thing. They could actually then determine the quality of the soil and that type of thing. The key factor is that seeds won't grow in cold ground. They just won't. So if you get the water off and you get a little bit of sunshine and you get a little air in the soil, then things will start to grow. And consequently, that is what drainage basically has done for Kent County.